Part 2 of canning during a workcation. Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Gravy in the Kitchen. So now we're going to get to the bean and bacon soup that we started on the last video. And we're going to pick that up right now. I have some navy beans that I need to get soaked. So we're going to put 9 cups of beans in this stock pot. I already have 8. Now we're going to add the 9th. So in my 9 cups of dry navy beans, I'm going to cover them with water to about 3 or 4 inches. And I have some apple cider vinegar. This is a raw vinegar I get from Azure Standard. I want to put a good 1/4 cup in here, but I'm going to eyeball it. Give that a little stir. And we'll cover it with plastic wrap. Just so things don't fall in here. Put my lid on it just for extra security. So I'm going to leave this on the counter, probably on the island in my way today for a minimum of 8 hours. Overnight will be perfect. So back to this tomorrow. So our beans have been soaking in that vinegar water over 24 hours. The last probably 15 hours, it's been in the refrigerator. But it's okay, family. Now, my bean and bacon soup is not my recipe. I'm going to tell you the truth. This is from Carol Thrifty Chick Housewife. I will leave a link in the description below to her channel. She also does some canning. Good resource, very good resource for canning. This is actually her recipe. But in the video that was posted 5 years ago for this bean and bacon soup, she only did for 7 pints. I don't can small, family. I'm sorry, I just don't. I can big. Because I'd rather make one big batch of something and then I'll can another big batch of something else and then on and on and on. And that by the time I need to get back to the bean and bacon, I've got the other things on my shelf. So that's why we got 9 cups of navy beans in here, but her recipe said 3 cups for 7 pints. I need to get this drained and rinse while we prepare everything else. So I have the beans drained, rinsed, and drained again in this pot, but we need to get the other components ready. Now, when I worked at the restaurant, I used to buy my bacon in a 15-pound box from the vendor that supplied the restaurant. I have one that's almost 3 pounds. It's like a little bit more than 2.5 pounds. But I need to cut this up. It came in a 15-pound box, layered, separated with parchment paper. I just took the parchment paper, I guesstimated between 3 and 4 pounds usually, and I rolled them up in the parchment paper that it was supplied in, put it in a vacuum seal bag and stuck it in the freezer. I need to get this cut up so we can get this frying on the stove while we gather all the other ingredients. So I have a bowl on the kitchen scale. I do want to weigh to see how much I have here. If it's not exactly 3 pounds, that is fine, we'll be good. I do want to stack them just to make it a little bit easier to cut. And I'm going to cut them about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. It looks like we have 2 pounds and 4 ounces. So we're 12 ounces shy of 3 pounds, but we're going to work with that. I have the large cast iron skillet on the stove. I'm going to let that heat up and then we're going to start cooking our bacon. You know what? No. We're going to do half at a time. That's a lot of meat. It's going to render a lot of fat. We'll do half, then we'll come back and do the other half. And I want it crispy, so it's going to take a few minutes. So I have all the bacon crisped up on a paper towel so it can drain. Now we can build our soup. Carol's recipe calls for a quart of chicken broth per recipe. We're 3 times in this recipe, so we need 3 quarts of chicken broth. But I only have 7 pints left. I'm not using that. Way too much. I need chicken to go on sale so I can get some more chickens. But I do have this Better Than Boullion vegetable broth, because she said you could use vegetable broth if you like. I am going to dilute this in some water. So I have 8 cups of water in here, and it takes 1.5 tablespoons of this broth base for each quart. So I have 4.5 tablespoons in here. I'm going to dilute it in this water. Now her recipe says 3 quarts of broth and 1 quart of water. So we're just going to put 4 quarts of water and 4.5 tablespoons of this broth base. So that's 2. And 2 more cups of water. 3 quarts of broth and 1 quart of water. 3 cups of diced carrots. These were frozen carrots I thawed and chopped really well. 18 tablespoons minced onion. I have 3 bay leaves. And I have 3 teaspoons of Old Bay seasoning and 6 teaspoons of a seasoned salt. You can use a Lawry's. This is a Lidl's brand going in. And I have 3 6-ounce can of tomato paste. And to add a little bit beef flavor, I have this beef Better Than Boullion. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon. I want to give all that a good stir. And now we're going to add our cooked bacon. And to give it a smoky taste, I have some liquid smoke, and we need 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon. And we need to let this come up to a simmer, and we need to simmer it for 1 hour. Every now and then we're going to come in here and give it a good stir. Other than that, we're not going to touch it. I'll bring you back in an hour when we're ready to put these in the jar. That's the perfect time for me to get all caught up on some dishes, put everything back in the pantry or in the refrigerator, wherever it goes. And we actually have almost a cup of bacon grease. That's awesome. We have 9 minutes left on the bean and bacon soup simmering for that 1 hour. So when it hit the 30-minute mark, I went ahead and got my canner to the required amount of water. I had to add another about 2 quarts to that. I've had that on, plus I have the jars clean and rinsed and in the oven at 200 degrees. Now we're at 8 minutes. It's done. We can go ahead and start putting them in the jars. But canning is a science. You don't have to know all the particulars of that science. You just have to have a good resource in order to find out the science that someone else has done for us, and we can move on. Now, there are some people out there that will can dry beans from dry to the canner without doing the cooking process. Now, if you're an experienced canner and you feel comfortable doing that, that is fine. But if you're a new canner, you need to follow these rules that the science has proven to be safe. So when we're cooking dry beans, we have to cook them in clean water, or in this case, a bean and bacon soup, for 1 hour. And we have to process it for 75 minutes in a pressure canner. Yes, there are people out there that will water bath low acid foods, but it takes hours and hours and hours to do that. I'm just going to pressure can it because that is the true tested recipe. And I advise you, if you're new to canning, stick to something that is true and tested. Now, when I was putting all the herbs and spices and everything in the stock pot to cook those beans, I had forgotten the pepper. So I did add the pepper right away, and it's 2 tablespoons and it's 2 teaspoons of pepper per recipe. We're tripling this recipe, so I put 6 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons of pepper. It's starting to cook down, so I added 2 quarts of water. And then about that 25-minute mark till it was done, I noticed it was reducing more water. So I ended up adding another 1.5 quarts. So we started off with 4 quarts and we've added 3.5 quarts additional. And if you're canning your bean and bacon soup in quarts, you have to process it for 90 minutes, or in our case, in pints for 75 minutes. We're going to go through the process the same as we did for the barbecue. We got to let it build up some steam, have the steam vent for 10 minutes. Then we can put a weight on it and then let it build up pressure. Once it starts jiggling, that 4 times a minute. So it's going to jiggle, rest, jiggle, rest, jiggle, rest 4 times a minute, no less, for 75 minutes or 90 minutes for quarts. We're almost ready, family. We have 4 more minutes. So I have all of my rings, my lids, my bowl of vinegar, my debubbler. I have a slotted spoon I'm going to use to get out the beans and the bacon and all the vegetables. And then I have a ladle to add some of the liquid to each jar. So I have 3 hot jars. I'm going to use the slotted spoon and fill it up with the beans and the bacon and vegetables about 3/4 of the way. And as I'm seeing bay leaves, I'm pulling them out. I've only found 1 so far. Oh, there's another one. And then I'm using the ladle to fill it up to the 1-inch mark with the liquid. So since we're still guessing, how many pints do you think I'll be able to get out of? Leave a comment below. I have my paper towel with some white distilled vinegar. I'm going to run it on the edge, make sure we get it completely clean so it doesn't prohibit the lids from sealing on these jars. Brand new lids and a ring. The rings don't have to be brand new, but these are new jars, so the rings are new. Fingertip tight. And in the can. Start all over, family. I messed up. So we're gonna debubble. And then we're gonna check our headspace to make sure it's where it's supposed to be. Then we're going to take the white distilled vinegar and wipe the rim. Brand new lids. And a ring, fingertip tight. And in the canner. And we're going to repeat the process until we run out of content or we get our 16 jars. Yep, there's another bay leaf. Cover your little bay leaf. The flame under the canner is still on. I have it on a medium to medium low, just to keep the water and the jars that are in there hot until we can get it completely loaded up. The soup does smell so good. The husband loves bean and bacon, and I am very proud to be able to make it for him with healthy ingredients. Okay, family, I have the 16 jars in the canner. I have it locked down. I have it turned up to medium heat so it can build up some steam. Let it steam for 10 minutes. Put the weight on it. Let it come up to pressure. I'm going to pressure it for 75 minutes. Turn the burner off. Let it natural release. Go through the 5-minute increments to take them out. But I ended up with this much left. This is a little bit over 8 cups. So that's technically 4 more jars. I'm not going to waste this. I'm going to let this cool off. I do want to can some lima beans because you saw our last month Azure order where we bought 5 pounds of baby lima beans and 5 pounds of large lima beans. I want to go ahead and can some of those, but I need to do the overnight soak in some vinegar water in order to do that. So I might just go ahead and get those started so I can can those tomorrow with the remainder of this. But this needs to cool off before I put it in the refrigerator. I will see you tomorrow because once that cools off and I can get the jars out, tomorrow I need to wash all the jars, label them, make sure everything's sealed, and then I can put them in the pantry. And then I'll explain to you all the other things we did in your absence because I do have videos on those items also. I did not include canning those while you were here, but I'll send you some links to make sure you know where you're going if you want to can those items. So I'm going to go ahead and get the beans, get them soaking in some vinegar water so I can can those tomorrow, and then we'll revisit all of this. I'll see you in the morning, family. So we got all the canning done. We made chili, pasta sauce, pork barbecue, bean and bacon soup, and lima beans. Let me show you everything we have. So this is everything I can during my workcation. And I call it workation because I was on vacation from work, but I worked at home. So I'm calling it workation. Where am I want to start? Let's start here. So the first thing I made was chili. I didn't bring you along while we made the chili, but I do have a video out there. I'll leave it in the description below. I followed that recipe to the T and made chili. So we ended up with 16 pints of chili. 2 did not seal, so I just stuck it in the refrigerator. We ate 1 that day. Plus, we still have this one we can eat. As long as we eat it within 5 days, we're good. And the husband did not know there was 1 in the refrigerator, so he grabbed 1 last night and he had it for dinner. We have 13 jars that are going to go into the pantry, plus the 1 in the refrigerator. Very happy with that. The second thing I made was pasta sauce. I also have videos on my pasta sauce. I ended up with 21 quarts. 1 did not seal. We ended up having it for dinner that evening. I made spaghetti with meat sauce. 18 did seal. 1, I had a blowout. I'm going to insert a picture right here to show you that blowout. I don't know what happened, why the lid just completely came off, but this is trash. It just blew, the whole lid just came off, as you can see in the picture. So this is actually trash. But I do have 19 that are going to go into the pantry. 1 we had for dinner. And then on the last video, you saw where we made pork barbecue. I have 19 jars of pork barbecue. Who guessed 19? Did anybody guess 19? That's what we ended up with after canning that pork roast we had in the countertop roaster. Plus I have 2.5 pints of broth. I am very happy having them in smaller portions so the husband can use 1 to make 1.5 sandwiches and we'll have no waste. And then we did bean and bacon soup. A lot of y'all have been asking about my bean and bacon soup, so this video is actually all about bean and bacon soup. I ended up with 19 pints of bean and bacon soup. We put those in pint jars so that'd be just 1-person meals, something quick to eat, make a grilled cheese sandwich or have some crackers. I gave the husband a choice. If you saw the Azure order, we bought the big lima beans and we bought some baby lima beans. I gave him a choice of which one to cook. Didn't want to do both of those. He chose the baby lima beans and we went ahead and canned 2.5 pounds of dry baby lima beans. And I ended up with, I have 9 pints and I ran out of pints. So we ended up with 4 half pints. As for the bean and bacon, I had all the ingredients in the house. I had the navy beans, I had the bacon, the carrots, the dry onions, the seasoning, the spices, and all the herbs. So I can't tell you how much this costs per pint. But as for the barbecue, because I still had the labels from the pork. So we got those porks on sale back in 2023, kept them in the freezer. We cooked those, canned those, and did all the things. Those 2 porks cost $20.84. I ended up with 20 jars. So each one of these jars is $1.04. Now compare that to a price of going out and getting barbecue, like a barbecue sandwich or a plate of barbecue, or compare that to something that you could buy at the store. I'm not sure if you can buy pork barbecue canned in the store. If you can, let me know. I'm curious. But ours only costs $1.04 per half pint. Now, if you're new or even thinking about doing pressure canning, I'm telling you, family, it is safe. You have me showing you how to do it from start to finish. The safety, proper way, according to the National Food Home Preservation. That's a website run by the government. I will leave a link in the description below. Go check them out. You can type in the Q, whether you're doing tomatoes or carrots or soups or in meat or whatever, and it'll tell you the times and the pressure according to your altitude. I am on the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic, below 1,000 feet. With my altitude, my pressure is 10 or 11 pounds depending on your canner. And depending on what you're putting in your canner, the time is according to that. So for anything that has meat or dry beans, it's 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts. As for my pasta sauce, I take the ingredients that I have in my sauce, which is celery, carrots, onions, a little bit of olive oil, canned tomatoes, tomato paste, salt and pepper, and all the herbs. I take each one of those components and I go to the National Food Home Preservation site and find out what is the pressure can requirement for each one of those ingredients. It is actually carrots. Carrots has to can pressure, because it's a low acidic food, for 30 minutes. So when I pressure can my pasta sauce, I can it according to the ingredient that takes the longest, which is carrots. So I pressure can my pasta sauce for 30 minutes from my altitude at 10 pounds of pressure. Yes, tomatoes can be water bath canned, but because I have carrots, celery, onions, a little bit of olive oil, I want to pressure can it so I don't have to add more acid or lemon juice to my contents to raise the acidic level to be able to water bath can. So that way I can just pressure can it. I know you can tomato sauce, but I didn't want to add lemon juice to my sauce. That is why I pressure can. So if you find any value in this video, please give it a thumbs up. And while you're at it, please subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you part of the Grammy family. So until next time, you have a blessed day. Bye, family. And one more thing. When I am putting away my canner, I always make sure it's clean and dry. I always put white distilled vinegar in my canner when I'm canning. That helps any kind of hard water deposits from attaching itself to the jars, making your jars a little cloudy. I've mentioned this before. There's nothing wrong with it. Your content is still safe to eat. It's just purely aesthetic. It's just to make the jars pretty. That's it. But before I put it away, I clean and dry my canner and my lid and my spacers. So I always put my spacers in here upside down. No particular reason, just the way I do it. And then I have all of my accessories, my debubbler, the jar lifters, the lid lifters, everything in a mesh produce bag. And I put that inside. That way the next time I need a can, I know where that is. Funnels usually stay inside my stand mixer because I use those more than just canning. And as for the lid, to protect this gauge right here, I turn it upside down, place it inside the base of the canner, being very careful with that gauge, and my weight right there. That way the next time I need to can, I know where everything is. This is also going to go into the pantry until the next time we need a can, which I hope will be a while because I am tired.